Rosenberg Trial is very famous and unique. Why it is so different from other trials is because it occurred in a very particular time, the early 1950s, the early time of Cold War, which was a conflict in political wills, military forces, and economic race between the communist wars, primarily the Soviet Union, and the capitalist wars, primarily the United States. The main character of the Rosenberg trial was Julius Rosenberg and Ethel Rosenberg, a couple who were suspected as the spies of the Soviet Union. Julius was a quiet, serious young whose early success in Hebrew studies. However, it was clear that Julius' passion was on politics, not religious studies, by his senior year in high school. He was in college. He met Esther in a union fundraising party and fell in love with Esther. In 1939, Esther married Julius after Julius graduated with an engineering degree. As pro-communists in such a particular time, the time when the Soviet Union was definitely not America's enemy, it was not surprised that those young, such as Julius, would be tempted to provide the secret information to the Soviet Union. Julius was suspected because of David Griglas's words. David was Ethel Rosenberg's brother. He was questioned and arrested by FBI and admitted that he was a machinist soldier and also identified his wife, Ruth, and his brother-in-law, Julius Rosenberg, as participants in the Soviet spy ring. On the basis of David and his wife Ruth's statement, Julius was arrested on the evening of July 17, 1950. Moving on to the suspect of the FBI on Ethel Rosenberg. The case against Ethel was very weak, which was entirely based on the statement of David Griglas, who said that Ethel typed notes on important and secret information and appeared in a conversation about espionages. However, Rick David's words, Ethel was arrested on August 11, 1950, and she did not even have time to go back to home to arrange care for her two sons. March 6, 1951, in New York City was a cloudy day. The skies were overcast as if they were expressing their deep condolences to Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. The judge called their crime worse than murder.
Judge Irving Kaufman, after administering a tongue lashing in which he charged them with the indirect death of thousands of men in Korea, he sentenced both Rosenbergs to death in the electric chair.
The Rosenbergs appealed for the decision. However, it was started with the hope and was ended with deep despair. The Supreme Court finally rejected their appeal. The Rosenbergs were executed on June 19, 1953, 2 years later after the Rosenberg trial. The collapse of the Soviet Union made the lingering doubts of Julius' guilt evaporate with the passing time. However, some recent testimony showed that the Griglases may have lied in their trial testimony. They stated that Ethel Rosenberg typed up the secret information provided to the Soviet, while it was not true. Ruth Griglas admitted that it was her who wrote the secret information in longhand. Morton Sobel, who was Julius' college friend and also was implicated in Soviet spy ring, said that Ethel was guilty only of being Julius' wife. Granted, it was clear that Ethel knew and supported her husband's spy activities. Nevertheless, her guilt was not so serious to sentence to be executed. In the trial, both Rosenbergs pleaded the Fifth Amendment in response to all questions concerning their membership in the Communist Party. Why is the Fifth Amendment so significant to this trial? According to this amendment, no one shall be punished by capital punishment in any time except in actual service in time of the war or public danger. Basing on the testimony of Griglas, Julius would work as a spy in the time of war with the favor of Ethel Rosenberg. Thus, the Fifth Amendment did not apply to this case, at least did not apply to Julius Rosenberg's case. However, there was a big problem on the decision, which was on Ethel Rosenberg's conviction. She was not a spy at all. She just knew her husband's spy activities but did not participate in it. It was Ruth Griglas who wrote the secret information provided to the Soviet Union, which Ethel Rosenberg's innocence could be proved in Greenglass's later testimony. Thus, on the basis of this situation, the conviction to Ethel Rosenberg was unfair and unconstitutional. There were some related cases took place in the history that had a similarity with the Rosenberg trial. One of them was the Shrink vs. United States, 1919. The Shrink vs. United States was a case also happening a particular time, the World War I. Charles Shrink distributed leaflets to urge conscripts to assert their rights. Thus, he was convicted of sedition. He appealed and argued that the conviction violated his right of free speech. However, the court appealed his conviction and stated that on the basis of the wartime conditions, his words in the leaflets were not protected by the First Amendment. Both of the Rosenberg trial and the Shrink vs. United States happened in the wartime. They were convicted largely based on this condition. If in the ordinary time, Shrink's right to free speech and the Rosenberg's right of not being deprived of life can be protected. To conclude, the Rosenberg trial was an over-convicted tragedy with government's overreaching. Julius was really a spy and his conviction was constitutional during the wartime. However, moving on to Ethel's conviction, it was unfair. Knowing her husband and brother's spy activities without reporting to the government was vital. It could be understood because it was her families who participated in the spying. Except for this, she did not do anything guilty but was still sentenced to death. This abuse of power to over-convict individuals to death was a kind of disrespect of life, which is unconstitutional and inhuman.